Hello, welcome to the BIM Student. I'm your host Chetna Chauhan. I want to start today's episode with these words by a famous author, Sukant Ratnakar. Our future success is directly proportional to our ability to understand, adopt, and integrate new technology into our work. Our today's guest is a strong advocate of this philosophy. He is an associate at Intuitive, a future-oriented and technology-driven structural engineering company that adopted BIM in its inception years. At Intuitive, he leads technologist group and a research and development committee. His depth of BIM experience and natural ability to lead allows him to drive regularly new ideas and is also continually looked up to as a unique problem solver. He is also involved in CanBIM from its founding years and has been actively advocating and facilitating the process of digital transformation in AEC industry. That's not all. He's also a director at ACE Mentor Program of America. This program is geared to engage, excite, and enlighten high school students to pursue careers in architecture, engineering, and construction. Please welcome Ian Trudeau. Hi Ian, welcome to this podcast. I'm so thankful you gave your time to us and helped me and my audience educate about the specific kind of BIM that you do, and I'm so excited to learn something new today from you.
Thanks for having me.
I want you to share your personal journey with us, like your background, where do you come from, your education, how did you actually start your BIM journey?
Hey, well, it's been a while, so to go back to the very beginning, I started in the construction sector as a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
A number of years ago in Ottawa, we built multi-million-dollar custom homes along the Ottawa River. It was, they were amazing projects to be a part of. I learned a lot about, just site layout and framing, and then finishing carpentry and landscaping and formwork and basically everything that goes into a large house. And I first got exposed, it was a small firm that, was a design build outfit, and it was led by an architect. And he gave me a copy of AutoCAD back then. This was in the 90s, so I'm dating myself here. But, and that's where I first got exposed to the software side of things. And I kind of taught myself AutoCAD way back then, and it was kind of neat. It was interesting to sit on a computer and come out with something that's very clear and concise, a representation of something that was real. And so I eventually moved back to Toronto, and I enrolled in a technical college. It's no longer in existence as I understand it, but it was basically similar to an architectural technology program. But it wasn't just architectural, it had covered engineering, mechanical design, it covered everything really. It was a unique program. And from there, we learned hand drafting, which was painful. I had a drafting table set up in my apartment. And then, again, AutoCAD was the focus. We talked about Revit, but nobody really knew what it was or had it at the time. So we learned, AutoCAD, 2D, 3D AutoCAD, actually produced a whole 3D model in AutoCAD and rendered it, and I had the record for the longest rendering time on a laptop, which was 3 days, I think.
We've all been there.
Yeah. And I actually got hired right out of school into an structural engineering firm, which I had no intention of doing. I was planning on joining an architectural firm. Mm-hmm. That was my vision. But there I was in a structural firm, and it was my first office job, and it was, I started off printing drawings and doing all these things. But then I landed, my first project with that company, and we did the ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum, the addition there. And we did that in AutoCAD 2D, but it was a very obvious project that required 3D. You just couldn't visualize the thing in 2D. We couldn't analyze it. We couldn't do anything in just 2D. So I was, forced to apply my 3D knowledge on that project. And it kind of introduced the office at the time to 3D and the possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sort of spiraled from there. I mean, it went, I was, doing AutoCAD 3D. Then in around 2004, I received a beta copy of Revit Structure on a disc that my boss had got from Autodesk University. And he just threw it on my desk and said, check this out. And so I became a beta tester for Autodesk, or for Revit Structure in 2005. And obviously, once we saw that, it was like, okay, this is the future. This is something we have to learn, and we just stuck with it. And I was, put in charge of implementing that at that firm. And yeah, we just more and more projects were done, and the rest is kind of history, at least at that firm, And then come 2012, I decided to move companies, and I joined Intuitive, which is where I am now. Intuitive was 1 year old at the time, so I joined very early on, and they were already looking at Revit. I was brought in because of my expertise with BIM and everything like that, and and I'm still there, and here I am. So that's kind of my history. I guess we'll get into the details about how Intuitive has adopted it next.
Yeah, so that was actually my next question. So when you started with Intuitive, they were already looking at a BIM program, get their hands on, to start their work on. So I'm assuming you were pretty much the part of the whole implementation and execution process. So there are other programs in the market. How did you decide on Revit?
It was interesting. Because we started the company from scratch, we didn't have to deal with really implementing. It was decided from day one that we were going to be, using BIM as our deliverables. So that part was easy, and everybody was on board with that idea from top to bottom. All the senior management, the principals, everybody was on board and pushing for that.
Right.
And then that's, hugely beneficial. I mean, you don't have to play politics trying to convince people that this is valuable. It was so much easier, very refreshing. But in terms of the tools, we weren't just looking at Revit. Actually, we were also investing equally in Tekla at the time. Because we saw some benefits there with the structural steel industry, and some synergies there in the ability to share the models with the trades and that kind of thing. So we invested in both tools for a while, just to see kind of where they went, and the benefits to both, challenges and advantages, that kind of thing. And we made them both work. We were able to use them on actual projects. So like we did the Ripley's Aquarium project early on. I didn't work on that personally, but that one was done sort of both with Revit and Tekla. So that was kind of a unique approach. Since we've sort of moved away from Tekla somewhat, we've focused more on Revit, just because it's the standard, industry standard. It's much easier to find people that know Revit than know Tekla. So it's the path of least resistance, quite frankly. But we're still we're still looking at other tools all the time, especially in our transportation group right now. We're considering, Revit may not be the best tool for large infrastructure projects. We're always considering other tools, but at the end of the day, it's it's what our clients need, it's what they want, and so we have to
it's where market drives you too, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So you mean to say that there were not many challenges initially, but let's say you bring on board a talent, somebody who's good with, let's say, designing, or somebody who's good with the technical part of structures, but they are not very familiar with Revit. Do you ever bring any such talent in-house and then train them, or you only prefer people who know the softwares that you're using?
Yeah, I mean, it's become, like I said, the industry standard. I mean, it's pretty easy now. Like, it's a pretty standard skill set. We have done some training in a few cases where we had some people we needed to upskill in Revit, but for the most part, we're able to find people within industry to hire. And the colleges now are a great source. I mean, we work a lot with George Brown College in Toronto here. We work with SAIT out in Alberta. Their curriculums include the things we need now. So it's great. We can hire these graduates, and they hit the ground running. It's amazing how quickly we get them up to speed. So.
Oh, and how quickly they also adapt to the new programs. Like, it's not just Revit, I would say all the analysis robot and all the other tools that we use to do analysis. At some point of time, you also might be doing some kind of specifications. So all those tools are very easy to integrate. Are there any specific tools that you would suggest a company, let's say a small company who is starting their journey, because we are all transitioning, we are all like, they're big companies like Intuitive and IBI, and they are already there, but then there is this big chunk who's still moving on. So if you want to tell them that this is what your roadmap should be moving forward, if you want to adopt BIM, what would your suggestion be to them?
Well, the first and foremost, you need unanimous support from the management team, from the people that are, signing the checks, and you need to have that support. You need to have drive from the entire company in that direction, or else it's not. You're just fighting an uphill battle. So really, once you have that, the technical part's actually quite easy. I mean, there's plenty of training programs. There's plenty of companies that offer training. There's colleges that offer training. There's online. There's YouTube. There's numerous avenues to take to learn now. Right. It's so well known. It's so well understood compared to when, we were first looking at it in 2005, for example. So that part's kind of easy, but yes, you need that support from management. And once you do it, commit. Don't, once it gets difficult, don't back out. Don't. Yes. You got to see it through. And if you're struggling, find the help, reach out. Like I said, there's lots of resources out there.
Right.
But commit and do it. It will be painful at first, a little bit. It will be uncertain. And it may take a little longer than you're used to at first, but the paybacks come. They do come. I mean, there's a reason everybody's using it now.
So at Intuitive, do you guys do every project in a BIM program, in Revit or any other related software, or are there some projects that you would say that this is better done in CAD?
I would say basically every project. There are some clients that still require a traditional deliverable, such as MicroStation or AutoCAD, and that's normally to conform with their standards. Right. They have very rigorous standards in place, and that's mostly in the transportation sector that we deal with that. At the same time, we do leverage BIM on those projects, and we investigate ways to sort of translate our Revit into those formats that are required. So yeah, the short answer is we try to do it on absolutely everything. Okay. And it's only if we're absolutely forced otherwise that we don't. So
okay.
Yep.
So if your client doesn't specify, you use a BIM program to do your work. Now, do you think cloud collaboration is going to be an integral part of our construction industry from moving forward?
Absolutely, I do. I can tell you our entire Intuitive network is cloud-based. I mean, that's the way we operate all of our offices as one entity. That's our, one of our foundations is the one company philosophy and our ability to work collectively from any office. And the only way to do that is through the cloud. And likewise on projects, we want to be as collaborative as possible. And when you're, relying on, bi-weekly FTP exchanges, for example, it's not quite the same as day-to-day interaction on the model, through the model, and that kind of communication. So, we do have a number of projects on BIM 360. Again, that's on a project-by-project basis. It depends on the client again, and their requirements and their workflow. But absolutely, we have all of our BIM users on BIM 360 and familiar with it. Okay. And it's not going away, put it that way.
Oh, of course it's not going away. It's just that the sooner we accept the reality, the better it is. And I think as more people start adopting it, even the price point would start coming down, because it's beneficial for companies to, lower the price point when they have more users.
Well, I've been hounding the Autodesk people to just build BIM 360 into Revit. I mean, why does it need to be separate? It should just be one piece of software. But my qualms with Autodesk is another discussion entirely. But
Oh, okay.
they're very good at extracting money from their users, put it that way, and creating
course.
dependencies, unfortunately.
Yeah, I also feel that they should have more like a lease or a rent kind of, like, you know how there is a software lease system in ArchiCAD. Like if you are using it for, let's say, a project for 6 months, you only pay for that 6 months.
Yeah, it's the same with Bentley as well, but I don't think Autodesk has that option, unfortunately.
Yeah, because most of my clients are small to medium-sized companies, and they feel that I don't want to pay a few $1,000 for a year when this project is only going to go for 2 months. So they don't want to invest into that.
It is challenging. I mean, especially the latest modeling or license modeling from Autodesk is the single user nonsense. I mean, our software costs essentially doubled. I mean, it's very difficult, for the smaller firms with the low budgets. And I feel that pain. I mean, I can't imagine how challenging it must be.
Yes, it is. It is.
I mean, the other upside to that, though, that because it's more widely adopted now, there is more contract people out there that rather than buy the software, maybe you could bring some people in temporarily on a contract basis to assist. That's one way to manage that.
My next question is regarding the customization of Revit plugins. So where does your inclination go towards? There are tools in the market, because Revit doesn't provide everything that we need. So there are tools and plugins in the market that do stuff for us. Then there's Dynamo, and we prepare scripts and we do things that Revit cannot do it directly. And then there are companies who have people who can in-house who can develop plugins for them. What route do you prefer taking?
Well, we recognized a long time ago that having coding knowledge is fundamental to staying at the leading edge. And so we have a dedicated technology group, we call them, that know programming, that write software, not just for Revit. I mean, we do write our own Revit plugins and scripts for various things, but writing other software as well. We've created our own project management software that the company uses. We use it for resource scheduling as well. We have a number of Grasshopper users, and there's another way of programming. It's graphically programming, but it's still programming nonetheless. And that's that actually blends our technology with our engineers, and it's kind of, again, it goes back to just integrating everybody to a common purpose. And so yeah, we've definitely invested in that. We've got, like I said, a distinct group that is 100% focused on programming, and not even billable on projects. Sometimes we can, but we're not worrying about that. Like, we just see the value in it, and the tools that they produce save so many people so much time that it's a no-brainer.
But companies that cannot afford to have a full-time programmer, because you just don't need one programmer, then you need somebody who would test it. You would need somebody. So there's a team that's required. So
Absolutely.
Don't you think that for companies like that, just buying a tool like a plugin, or buying something like CTC tools or Avid Pro tools is a better idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not gonna reinvent the wheel. I mean, we're writing software that doesn't exist because we need it.
Right.
We'll definitely buy something if it exists first. I mean, it's usually all the hard work has been done.
Yes.
Yeah, so absolutely. And even then, again, back to outsourcing, there's plenty of consultancies now that are available that will create custom software for you.
Right.
As you need it, and we did that initially before we were at a scale where we could have dedicated staff. So you can still do that. You can still create the tools you need if they don't exist, without having to employ somebody full time.
Right.
It's obviously still an investment, but maybe not as big.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have like millions of questions that I can ask, and we can go on for like the whole day. You know what? This is the whole charm. I don't ask all the questions because I want you coming back for another episode sometime.
I see. Okay.
Yes. See, I like to retain the guest because it's a fun conversation. And if I learn everything today, what am I coming back to you for tomorrow? So right now, we are moving to our last section, which is Impossible Questionnaire. And this questionnaire has been specially prepared with an intention that the guests cannot answer it. So you learn something from it. Okay, so let's start with our first question. You're aware of ISO 19650, the BIM ISO standards?
I'm aware of them, yes.
Okay. Do you know how many parts does ISO standard have? The ISO 19650 have? And if you can just tell me any one part that this part contains this.
Nope.
Okay.
We don't work with that standard so much here, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
I did a review for our UK office to make sure we were compliant with level 2, the British standard, but the ISO standard, it's not really a.
Yeah, and
I should
it's
know this as
relative.
part of CanBIM, but
This is just new. It has just come, ISO 19650 has replaced BS 1192. So
Right.
it's still in the process where everybody's getting a hang of it. So, but I can educate you on that. So it has total 5 parts. They're still working on the part 4. So it's not out yet. But the 2 most important parts to know right now are one, the part 0, that is the transition guide. So when they're moving from British standards to ISO standards, there is a transition guide for that. And then there is part 1 that specifically deals with how information needs to be managed when we are working with a digital delivery. So it says it provides recommendation on how to manage building information.
valuable stuff for sure. I would say in Canada right now, what we're missing is contractual language around BIM.
Yes.
That's what I would like to see. I mean, the standards are valuable, but until people mandate them officially,
Right. And then
it's never going to happen. I mean, we've got to get the owners asking for these things.
yes. Oh, there are a few owners who are very aware
I
of
know.
this. Who are very
Yeah.
aware of this. There are law companies who are investing heavily into this. So I'm pretty optimistic about this whole scene. There is a project, I don't know if you know about it, One Ontario by Eco Innovation Lab. They are working on creating standards for information exchange. So there are a lot of projects going around. We are seeing a lot of change in the industry right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I know it's coming. Absolutely, I have no doubt it's coming. But we need it. We need it
Okay.
now.
Are you aware of Uniclass 2015 number system?
I'm aware. Again, I'm aware of these things, but these aren't things that we
That we use.
really study in structure on the structural side so much.
Yes. So that's why I say this questionnaire has been specifically prepared to ask my guests questions that I know they might not be able to answer. They might. I mean, some of the guests have answered, but ISO questions nobody has been able to answer till now. So, do you know what Uniclass 2015 is?
Do I know what it is specifically?
Yes.
No. I mean, it's a specification format, I'm assuming, similar to other classes where it breaks down elements and into categories and that kind of thing. I mean,
You're quite like near the definition. You have
I know,
the understanding.
I know I've heard of all these things, right? But again, it's not something I'm studying on a daily basis in my practice here.
Now I studied structural. I studied 3 courses of structures in my university. Now ask me how a structural beam is created. Do you think I can make calculations for that? I can't. So it's okay. Okay, my next question was going to be, what are Uniclass numbers for bridge structures and foundations?
No, I wouldn't know the actual numbers. No.
Okay,
Sorry.
so basically, I'll educate you on this. So anything that is an element of the building starts with EF, which is
Okay.
element/function. 20, and then it says 20, which is for structures. So EF_20 is structures. Okay.
Good to know.
Then anything, let's say foundations is EF_20, 05, 30. Bridge would be _50. So there are different different specifications for that. But just one piece, that structures, if you have to specify anything structural, it has to start with EF_20.
Well, I really hope Revit automates that whole numbering system, so I don't have
Oh,
to
there
number it.
are programs that do that specifications.
Yeah.
So, okay. I have a feeling you would know this. What are the top 3 programming languages you can write a Revit plugin in?
Oh, C++, C#, and Python.
Okay,
That's what we
C
use.
Sharp and C++ is very similar though.
Okay, so I'm missing one. Well, those are the ones we know. I don't know the other.
Visual
I'm not a
Basics.
programmer.
Visual Basic.
Oh, Visual Basic? Okay, that's old school.
So yeah, C# and Python for sure,
Yeah.
they're the 2 most popular, but also Visual Basic is being used now. And my last question is from the CCDC2 contract documents, and I still have a feeling you might know this. Under the terms of CCDC2, if a party fails to make a payment, what is the interest rate that's due to them?
I should know this. It's all written for us in our contracts. I don't actually have to know the number. I'd misspeak if I said. It's probably
You can guess.
a couple of
it's okay.
percent, 2.5%.
Okay, I'll give you that. So it's for first 60 days, it's 2% of the remainder fee, whatever's left, and after 60 days, it's 4%.
Yeah, I would like to know who actually enforces that.
It was fun chatting with
absolutely.
you. It was amazing. It was very, very informative, and hope that next time when I have another episode, you come in and we get more out of you.
Sure, sounds good. I'd love to come back.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Ian. Have a good one.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.